We have Lightsworn Runick. I didn't actually think that that would be a combination of cards. We have the Mathmech list from Top Cut as well, along with some other interesting little bits and pieces out of this weekend's YCS. Make sure you guys smash the living crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content. The first deck was going to be looking at here out of the event is this bubble list that was playing Raiden in combination with the Runick package. Now, charge Light Brigade, free mill power to put some spells down, so you can facilitate some sort of draw power. Raiden also gives you some milling power. But this is also a level 4 tuner, so if you step through all of your friends here, you get access to different points within your toolbox here, which facilitates, you guessed it, ladies and gentlemen. You can put up some negates, you can put up, you know, a Chang Yang to punish the opponent. There's a lot of interesting stuff that you can do with this deck. So we have 2 copies of Raiden, triple copies of Charge of Light Brigade, 1 copy Dimensional Fissure. You gotta love Walking Floodgates. Speaking of floodgates, we got 2 Mystic Mines. We got triple copies of Runick Destruction, the 1 Dispelling, triple copies of Flashing Fire, triple copies of the Runick Fountain, triple copies of Freezing Curses, 1 Droplet, triple copies of the Runick Slumber, triple copies of Smiting Storm, triple copies of Runick Tip, and then we got 1 Terraforming, 1 Upstart, 1 Metaverse, triple Solemn Judgment, and triple copies of There Can Only Be One. Yes, the Floodgate domination continues here. Down here in the extra deck, you got 1 Halki Vibrex, 1 Abyss Dweller, 1 copy of Ching Ying, 1 Formula Synchron with 1 Desert Locust, 1 Coral Dragon, 1 copy of Chaos Roller, 1 Baron de Fleur, 2 copies of Moonin, 2 triple copies of Hugin, and 2 copies of Gary, my favorite. Then you got triple DD Crow, 1 copy Pinkertops, 2 Lava Golem, and we actually have 1 Rose Whip here. This is actually some pretty cool punishment, man. Forcing the opponent to only activate 1 spell trap card per turn is pretty amazing for this deck. Then you have 2 Cosmic Cyclone, 1 Feather Duster, 2 Dimensional Barrier, and triple copies of Evenly Matched here, wrapping up a borderline awesome Runick list. I love seeing all these cool concepts. Next up here was the Mathmech list. We actually got this from the top 32 duel list here, which is actually kind of nice. I was kind of curious to see like what innovations and things we would see Mathmech come up with. This particular build is actually playing Cynet Crosswipe. We've seen Marincess kind of messing around with Cynet Crosswipe. Distribute a Cyberse monster, target a card on the field, and destroy it. Yeah, you lose an extra body on the field, but getting that ability to take care of something that is like a threat is really, really good. So don't underestimate like the power of a card like this. We have triple copies of Mathmech Circular, triple copies of Diameter, triple copies of Sigma, triple copies of Addition, triple copies of Subtraction, 1 copy of Nabla, 1 Multiplication, triple copies of Parallel Exceed, triple copies of Ash Blossom and Unfair Spring, 2 copies of Effect Veiler with the 2 Ghost Spells, triple copies of your Cynet Mining, triple copies of Triple Tactics Talents, 1 Mathmech Equation with 1 Cynet Crosswipe, 1 Called by the Grave, triple Imperm, you got 2 Super Factorials with 1 Induction, so yeah, we're actually on 2-1-1 for your split. That's actually not bad. Then you have 1 Final Ligma, 2 copies of Alimbertion, 2 copies of Laplacean, your 1 Link Disciple, 1 Link Devotee, 1 Cyberse Wit Kid, the 1 Update Jammer, then the 1 Splash Mage, your 1 good ol' IP, 1 Unicorn, 1 Eat Soul with 1 Transcode Talker and the 1 Access Code. Then you got triple copies of DD Crow, 2 Alpha, triple copies of Dark Ruler, 2 copies of Twins, 1 Arby's Feather Duster, triple copies of Silent Graveyard. Discard a card, the effects that activate in the graveyard this turn are negated. So for those of you that are always wondering about this card, yes, you board this in against here and you just basically get an Abyss Dweller effect for an entire turn. Yeah, it's a discard 1, but I mean, like, this card is really, really solid. And then we have 1 copy of Red Reboot here, wrapping up our interesting, I would say, metagame filled take here once again. Next up here is Spright Adventure. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you here. The adventure package for this deck has started to see so much less play. I mean, honestly, if you take a look at like the rest of the sphere of the metagame here and, you know, how things are starting to develop, you know, how the power scaling is going, this build just feels super inferior at this point. Now, this build did make top 32. I'm not going to take that away and be like, you know, this is bad. No, it's just when you look at like the rest of how the metagame has evolved, it almost feels like it's 1-2 steps further ahead than what this build was aiming to do. So we have 1 copy of Nimble Angler, 2 copies of Nimble Beaver, 1 copy of Ronin Toad, triple copies of Spright Blue, 1 copy of Spright Carrot, triple copies of Spright Jet, 1 Spright Pixies, 1 Spright Red, triple copies of Swap Rock, 1 Griffon Rider, triple copies of Water Enchantress with your 1 Call by the Grid, 1 Draco Back, triple copies of Enemy Controller, 1 Faithful Adventure, 1 Foolish Barrel, triple copies of Rite of Armesier, 1 copy of Smashers, triple copies of Spright Starters, triple Super Polymerization, 2 Talents, and triple copies of Infinite Permanence. Down in the next check, of course, triple Spright Elf because still best darn card in the deck, 1 Area with 1 Dahark, 1 Totally Awesome, 1 Sky Cavalry, 1 Soul Sweeping Onimaru, 1 Djinn Buster, 2 copies of Gigantic Spright, 1 Downard, 1 Zeus, 1 Mudmud, and 1 Garuda, the Wings of Resident Life. Then you have 1 copy Red Resonator strictly for time, triple copies of Dark Roll, no more, 1 Arby's Feather Duster, triple copies of Lightning Storm, 2 Appointer of the Red Lotus, 2 Dimensional Barrier, 1 Red Reboot, and 2 copies of Trap Trick here, wrapping up once again what you guys kind of see here in terms of developments for, you know, Spright. Is Spright exciting? I mean, I still think it's interesting to see how far this deck has evolved. All right. Next up is our Spright Runick list. I love just seeing what concepts players can come up with, you know, for this deck, because honestly, the Runick side of this deck, yeah, you lose a battle phase for some of these powerful effects, but, you know, getting to set up some, you know, bodies and negates here, you know, setting up basically any of your extra resources to punish the opponent is really, really solid, ladies and gentlemen. So sometimes you just got to be a little bit more throttled when you're looking at a deck or playing a deck like this, and I think it's something that a lot of players tend to not really understand. But all right, so we have triple copies of Ash Blossom and Joy of Spring, triple copies of DD Kra, 2 copies of Effect Veiler, triple Nibiru, 1 Ronin Toad with triple copies of Spright Blue, 1 Spright Carrot, triple copies of Spright Jet, 1 Pixies with 1 Red. Then you got triple Swap Frog, of course, 2 copies of Runick Destruction, 2 Flashing Fire with the 1 Runick Fountain, and then you've got 2 Freezing Curses, triple copies of Runick Tip, 1 Smashers, triple Spright Starter, and triple copies of Infinite Permanence. Down in the next check, got 2 Spright Elf. We're actually playing a Nightmare Phoenix and a Nightmare Cerberus. That is quite interesting. We have 1 Dahark, 1 Totally Awesome, 1 Sky Cavalry with 1 Onimaru, and then you got 2 copies of Gigantic Spright, 1 Downard, 1 Zeus, 1 Moonin, and then 2 copies of Hugin. Then you got triple Dimension Shifter, 1 Pankratops, 1 Arby's Feather Duster, 1 Gamma Burst, 2 more Smashers. This build is playing 3 frickin' Smashers, man. Like, we're not going to be worried about anything that the opponent's doing. Then you got triple Evenly Matched, 1 Red Reboot, and triple copies of Solemn Judgment here. Wrapping up just like some of the craziest gas for a deck that I've seen. Like, not only do you get to devastate your opponent's deck, like, you are just set for a deck like this. This is the kind of stuff I love to see. And last but not least here, we have a top 16 Flounder list here. Now, honestly, Flounder, I'm not a super crazy fan of. It is nice to see, you know, like the developments that this deck has gone through, you know, to kind of remain one of those roguish decks within the format, you know, because considering how the format is going right now, it is it's very interesting. Once again, shout out to Dimension Shifter here. So we have 1 copy of Storm Winds, 1 DD Crow, triple copies of Dimension Shifter, triple copies of Egan, 2 copies of M-Pen, triple copies of Rabina with 1 Toucan Sam. Alright, excuse me, 1 Stritch, 1 Toucan, 1 Apex Avion with the 1 Ryza, triple copies of Simorg, triple copies of Dark Road no more, 1 Elbraz, the Sacred Lands of Simorg, triple copies of Advent of Adventure, triple Magnificent Map with 1 Unexplored Winds, 1 Mystic Mine, triple Duality, triple Prosperity, 1 Terraforming, and the 1 Dreaming Town. Extra here, 1 Underworld Goddess, 1 Selene, 1 Cambroster, 1 Phoenix with the 1 Troubled Sunny, and the 1 Iria, 1 Axis Machine, 1 Tornado Dragon, 1 Promenade Thrush, 1 Assembled Nightingale, 1 Zeus, 1 Wind Pegasus, 1 Omega, 1 Garuda, and 1 Initis. Then you got 1 for your dump target, 1 Unexplored Winds, triple Ultimate Slayer, triple Evenly Matched, triple Featherstorm, 2 Rivalry, and 2 copies of Unending Nightmare here, wrapping up your chunk of information out of this weekend's YCS. Honestly, what do you guys think? Please leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think. I am very impressed with, honestly, just the breakdown from this weekend. And I will see your beautiful faces back here later on in the day, guys. Peace out. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.